Hey everybody, welcome back to Generation X Nation. Y'all see the thumbnail. Real quick, we're going to do a wrap up of the Real Housewives of Atlanta Part 3 reunion because it wasn't nothing to see. I am so sorry. This was just a bunch of clips and things put together to make it sound interesting. What I saw with my own eyes, and I watched it about 3 times, was Shamia and her side of the couch doing everything in their power to try to sabotage Portia. Now, I'm not saying Portia was right in every instance, but Lord have mercy, Shamia, you got to tone it down just a little bit. And Kelly, as much as I said I liked you and I tried to support you, and I thought the t-shirts was cool, you got under my last freaking nerves on this damn reunion. I was so sick of you. Even Andy told you to shut up. You're too much. You constantly point the finger at everybody else and what they're doing and never see the lack of self awareness in Shamia and Kelly needs to be studied. And I'm going to say that. Now, before we get started, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. This is Generation X Nation. As you all know, first things first, thank you for everybody who has subscribed to my channel, who has liked, who left a comment. You guys know I do get back to you. I like engaging with you in the comments. So leave a comment. Okay. Um, Everything on my channel is alleged, in my opinion, and for entertainment purposes only. Again, alleged, in my opinion, and for entertainment purposes only. I'm going to make this real quick because, like I said, it's the same old argument. I'm going to go down each person's name and what I got out of it. We're going to start with Pinky. Now, I started with Pinky because Pinky probably said the least on the reunion. Pinky's still there, somewhat with an attitude. When Portia mentioned that, hey, your friend is in the restaurant business and she did not help you. And Pinky said, I did come and I helped her. We sat down and had plenty of conversations. Well, apparently we had two broke, bankrupt restaurateurs talking to each other. How did that work out? I don't know. Then there was an issue with Pinky and I think it was Angela, and Pinky was going back and forth with Angela, and she finally admitted she made up the whole thing about Angela's husband not liking her. And then Angela was like, I just grabbed something out the sky when I said you had a woman in the basement. So that argument was, basically ended and deaded. Now, for some reason, I kept noticing Shamia and Kelly kept trying to make it about one side of the couch versus the other. When I think Kay Michelle and Pinky a little bit was trying to just resolve the issues and come together as one. But Kelly and Shamia, in my opinion, kept trying to make it one side versus the other. And I don't even think they understood what they was doing or didn't care because the lack of self-awareness in both of them is very mind-boggling to me. We're going to move on to Phaedra. Phaedra was very quiet. She said what she needed to say when she needed to say it. She spoke up. She got her piece out. But then when she mentioned, when the question came up about the assistance with Kelly and being her attorney at the time, she was very polite about, yes, I did help her. And Kelly said, she didn't give me any free legal advice. I paid her $10,000. And Phaedra said very quiet, nicely, well, it was over $60,000 of $50,000 of billable hours. Well, I gave you 10. I don't know about no billable hours. And I paid my other attorney $250,000. Well, then you got ripped off, Kelly. Because if that man or woman, whoever you paid $250,000 and you still did not get your child support and your issues resolved with your husband, and Phaedra had to do it for a measly 10,000 plus, then you need to go get your money back from your other lawyer. That was not a flex, you saying that. That's all I'm saying. But once again, Kelly has to continue to chime in on any conversation. It's the attitude that her and Shamia displayed to me. Even though Portia was giving a little shade here and there, she tried to maintain her composure. As we say, Portia is very PR trained. Them two chicks are not PR trained. I'm sorry. Allegedly. And again, everything on my channel is alleged, in my opinion, and for entertainment purposes only. Let's get to K. Michelle. K. Michelle was trying her best to resolve the issues with her and Portia and the rest of the ladies. And I think it came to a nice resolve. I think K Michelle understood, like, look, I was trying to get ahead of these stories. People were talking in my ear. And every time somebody said something, I felt a certain way because of her lack of trust of women. She think they was coming after her. When these people were just talking and being genuine about everything, and she finally figured out, hey, I didn't even have to do all that. I didn't have to put in all the extra work. I didn't have to be ready and stay on ready at all times, because that's what she was doing. I know they're gonna come at me with this. I know they're gonna come at me with that. So I'm gonna be ready. I'm gonna stay ready. Her and Drew finally came to a conclusion and a resolve with the whole black thing. They showed love for each other and they basically appreciate each other. She said, I wish you the best in what you're going through with your ex, and I thought that was a good moment. Of course, Kelly and Shamia didn't like that, because God forbid anybody makes friends with the other side of the couch. Because as much as they try to play like they didn't want that to happen, trust and believe me, they wanted the division to continue. Now let's talk about Drew. Drew, once again, she resolved the issue with K Michelle with Mr. Black. She said, hey, y'all look very familiar. I didn't know this what was going around town. And then y'all try to act as though me and you dating the same person and all of that. Very, very I thought it was very mature of Drew and K Michelle to basically resolve the issues with Black. And then once again, every time Drew went to talking about something, here come Kelly. Kelly comes in like the Tasmanian devil. She built like one and she comes in like one, just spinning around, keeping shit going, screaming and hollering at Drew for whatever the reason is. She still hasn't explained to me quite why she hates Drew, other than the fact that Shamia had an issue with Drew, because Drew hasn't really done much to Kelly. But again, she's defending Shamia, so she just wants to go off on Drew. She starts saying, you always calling me a lap dog. Portia, get your naked models. Just drug Portia in there. Portia said, hey, they can take her for themselves. You see how she does that? She tries to keep stirring the pot, stirring stuff up. Kelly, Kelly, I will say this with all the love and heart in the love in my heart when it comes to you. I've said over and over again, I think you're very good for the comedy break, but you get over the top way too much. When you was on that stage arguing back and forth, and Andy had to shut you down. Andy, even though he said he enjoyed the reunion, he liked the batter. Kelly, you're doing too much. All we hear about is what you used to have. I used to have this. I used to have that. I paid $250,000 for my attorney. I had 3 restaurants. Well, you ain't got it now, Kelly. We're looking at the present, not the past. You telling everybody you the standard, but again, you're getting money for teeth. You're over there borrowing places to live. And then she said, when Andy asked her about the teeth, of course, there go Kelly. Well, how do you know he didn't make a deal? He didn't make a deal, because if he did, you would have said it. Because you sat there and bragged about them $70,000 teeth to everybody, said you look stupid filing for bankruptcy and getting some $70,000 teeth. And it does. And then you went on this tirade with Carlos King about you the standard. You're this, you're that. The girls, you set the standards when you came on. Kelly, please. We're not talking about what you had in your past, because again, I'm still not going to believe in any shape, form, or fashion that you landed a helicopter in your front yard to pick you up to take you out to dinner. I'm gonna need to see that video. Moving on, Kelly. Again, next season, tone it down, because you remind me of a girl named Mia B. Lyon that was on Potomac. She came in hot. She came in about, I own this business and that business, taking people to the chiropractic business her and her husband owned. They owned a fleet or chain of these chiropractic businesses. They had a big old house. They was building another house. Braggadocious. And what happened to her? She ended up in a condo and lost all her businesses. Stop bragging about stuff. You're sitting here talking about Angela. You had a 2012 Range Rover. Why do you care what Angela is driving? It's not your car. I don't care if my neighbor is driving a Nissan Altima. Ain't got nothing to do with me. And she's like, well, you're in a 2012 car. Why do you care what she's driving? And Angela says, no, it's a 2020. But at the end of the day, why do you care what she's driving? The question is, can you afford a brand new Range Rover right now? The lack of self awareness that you display is just mind boggling. We're going to talk about Cynthia. Cynthia did a wonderful job. Thank you, Cynthia. Keeping it mellow, keeping it low. Of course, we enjoyed her new song. But there was a time, once again, when Shamia stepped up and tried to confront Cynthia about the whole Dallas and living in a dirty room. Now, Cynthia was right. She took those ladies through every room, and nobody said these rooms was filthy. Now, I'm not going to say the rooms probably didn't have dust and certain things on there, and it could have been because, hey, nobody stayed in these rooms for a long time and it got dusty. The maids could have did a better job cleaning it up, but she was exactly right. We couldn't come to dinner because we had airport clothes on. That's what Shamia said. But she said you had no problem filming at the pool, but you couldn't sit down there to eat with the same clothes on. But then when the argument broke out between Angela and Pinky, y'all found your way to that damn dinner table to be nosy. So if you could have did that, you could have sat your ass at the dinner table. I didn't like the way Shamia was trying to come at Cynthia. Don't do that. Let's talk about Angela. Once again, Angela, we appreciate the fact that you talked about your daughter and your daughter's situation, and we get a clear picture now. And I understand if somebody treated my daughter, somebody's family treated my daughter the way you said allegedly your daughter's wife's family treats her, I can understand why you had an issue with her marrying that lady. Okay, I can understand how you gave that lady love and welcome into your home. But when her family comes down to visit, your daughter has to leave the home that she shares with that lady. If that lady loved your daughter, she would tell her parents she's not going anywhere. And if my wife has to leave, then y'all don't need to be here. That's what she should do. So I get Angela as a mom. Angela is saying, I need you to stand 10 toes down with my daughter if that's going to be your wife, and your family either has to accept her or you have to cut the family off, one or the other. And that's what that lady is not doing. But I'm glad y'all getting it together. And I also appreciate the fact that Cynthia and Angela was able to bond on that because Noelle did tell us that she was kind of bisexual in previous seasons of The Housewives. Now, while this conversation was going on, once again, Messy Kelly, Tasmanian Devil Kelly, when Andy asked Portia, what does she think of it since she's now in the lady pond? She's only been gay for 2 days. Girl, shut up. And Pinky even said something under her breath. She's an expert on what do you call it, an expert on being gay or whatever. But I'm like, why is it every time somebody asks Portia or referred to Portia in any shape or fashion, Kelly has to tune in? And Portia, once again, tried her best not to say anything. But y'all just constantly tuning in. Sometimes, Kelly, let it go. It's like you want to fight with Portia. And baby, you're not winning that. You never gonna win. Because even though in your P-Bird, your bird brain, you think you the standard, baby, you're not the standard. Portia is the standard. Cynthia is the standard. You trying to get to where they're at. You on the show that they created. You stand on their shoulders. Stay humble and sit down, in the words of Kendrick Lamar. I'm not saying don't have your platform, but you need to know where to come in at. Now we're gonna talk about I'm sorry, Shamia. Now, Shamia, once again, every time somebody said something to you, you snapped back. Nothing came out of your mouth in a word way of resolution or in a way of trying to be kind and whatever. Even when you and Portia was going back and forth, you just cannot. When you replied to Drew, you was nasty. If you replied to Cynthia, it was nasty. When you replied, you and Portia had your back for it was nasty. It was just constantly the feedback was nasty. The K Michelle, the feedback was nasty. I don't know what else that the viewers or the fans of the show can tell you, Shamia, to make you a little bit more likable. Because yes, you do have the qualifications, and we know it. Y'all say it all the time. You Shamia fan. She's a real housewife. She got a husband in the house. Okay. But does she have a personality that the viewers will gravitate to? Does she have a personality that we like? Because Robin was a housewife and she got kicked off of Potomac. Mia was a housewife. She got kicked off of Potomac. Uh, Britt Eady was a housewife. We don't see her anymore. I mean, Angela from Potomac, who had the Colorado thing, she was a housewife, husband, rich, and we don't see her anymore. It takes more than just having a husband in a nice home for you to be a housewife and not necessarily have a husband, but it takes more than you got to have a personality. You got to have something people like to see. And that's where Angela is winning. And it seems like it's beyond Portia did something to her or beyond Portia it's a little bit of envious and jealousy, even though they don't want to admit it. Because I cannot hate a person or dislike a person that much if I'm living in a mansion, married to a rich guy, can have anything I want. Why do you have this disdain for Portia? According to you and Kelly, and your fans, you're living a better life than Portia. And if that's the case, what's the hate for? One thing I learned in life, and I think Ice T or somebody posted this years ago, haters never hate losers. Because if you're losing, they ain't got nothing to hate on. They hate winners. And Portia's been a winner and constantly won. Through all the adversity, she still lands on her feet and lands on top. And it's something about that Kelly particularly doesn't like, and Shamia has a little envious of. Shami is a little envious because she see Portia having the relationships and friends with Drew and the other girls and Angela that she used to have. And I get it. She said, I'm hurt by the relationship. I'm hurt that our friendship not there. And I do look at her with endearing eyes. I get it, Shamia. But you also got to understand, if that's your friend of so many years, and as you said in that confessional, sat at that table with Kate Michelle and said, y'all agreed to not let your parents get into the friendship, and then you brung up the parents, then you crossed the line, and you pretty much get what happens after that. And that's is what it is. And again, um, our condolences goes out to you on the IVF journey, because we know that you wanted to really have a baby. So we do feel sorry for you in that sense. And um, we're praying, and hopefully you'll get that wish one day to have the son that you want, whether you have it through IVF, regular pregnancy, or adopt, because you never know what God's plans is. And Michelle and K Michelle was right on that. Last but not least, Portia. Now, I'm going to call Portia out one time first. Portia, Cynthia, Drew, and Phaedra did mention something about K. Michelle being on some type of medication. So they did show that. So in that instance, they did not actually was truthful. Maybe they just don't remember they had the conversation because it didn't air, but y'all did say that. Now, with that being said, Portia, responding back to Shamia and just saying, hey, this is what was going on. This is how I felt. I understand how she was feeling, looking at me with endearing eyes, hanging out with other people. And I was willing to come back and film, even after last season was heated, come back and film and be cordial, and maybe we can rebuild something. But when you sat down there and started talking about my mama and my kid, that was the deal breaker for me. And I get what Portia was saying. Shamia, you screwed that up when you brought in the kids and the mom. And she did do that. They showed the footage when she was saying, Dennis is sneaking the baby to see me. That's the only way I can get to see him. When you were sitting there telling Cynthia that. And you shouldn't have never done that. You should have let Portia know ahead of time, or you shouldn't even have brought it up. It should have just been something that you didn't talk about at that moment. And you did have that explosive conversation in Scotland talking about Portia's mom. You have to take accountability before what you did. Shamir, your attitude was horrible on this reunion. I'm sorry it wasn't. I just didn't get, like Cynthia said, the fun, joyful Shamir we used to see as a friend of the show. You were on defense the whole time. And if somebody really did want to embrace you, you wasn't giving them time to do it. And I think at the end, when Andy was summing it up and basically saying, you didn't have beef with everybody on this couch, how do you fix all this? That's when she got up and decided, let me go give some people some hugs and, let them know that I don't hate them, or whatever the case may be. But Shamia, it just didn't look good for you. And that's really all I got out of this reunion. Same old, same old. Kelly still being Tasmania devil, still stirring up pots. Every time somebody answered or tried to talk about a question that was thrown at them, Kelly always sitting on the other side of the bench with the peanut gallery, whispering and mumbling something that was just rude or whatever, but yet kept saying this side of the couch, this side of the couch, when you was over there doing all the talking. That side of the couch wasn't really saying much. The people you were pointing at, who you tried to say are the troublemakers on the show, made you look stupid because they wasn't saying anything, because they vets and they know how to play that game, so their mouths wasn't moving. You didn't see their mouth. I seen Portia maybe make a face once or twice when Shamia was talking, but I understood why she did it, because she said something about get your get your lap dogs. And Portia said, I don't need to do anything, my lap dogs. I get what Portia was saying. But for the most part, y'all was looking like the side of the couch with the issues. And I can guarantee if K Michelle had to do it all over again, she'd have been on that side of the couch because she understand what no plot and scheming against her. It was all in her head. She was overthinking and she admitted that. But y'all, Shamia and Kelly took advantage of K Michelle overthinking and said, hey, come over here and join our team because they're doing A, B, C, and D to you. And in K Michelle, it took her to get to the reunion to realize, no, that's not what was really happening. Shamia, Pinky, I get you pregnant, so I'm gonna give you a little bit of grace because I know the hormones is off, but you got to tone down your attitude too and just be a little softer because I like you being on the show and we want to see you win next season. We want to see you bring this restaurant back up, but tone it down just enough. And I know Andy said all of y'all are coming back, but Andy, for the love of God, if Kelly does not change her attitude next year, we can do without her. Even though I said I like her comical part of the show, I like the way she do. We like to laugh and joke and funny Kel, but Kel don't know when to shut up. She don't know when to end the argument. She don't know when to stop over talking people and let them. You're not the only one to have a point of view, Kelly, and you have to let other people have their point of view. And then she made this comment, let me know she was delusional. Yeah, I wore my t-shirt and I'm the only one. Who else can wear a t-shirt with heels the way I did? You got a whole model sitting over there. You acting like Cynthia Cheeks Bailey could not put on that t-shirt and killed it. That's the delusion we be talking about, Kelly. So when Drew was over there saying delusion, that's what she meant. That kind of crap. Now, we don't know if you said to be a joke or not, but it didn't sit well. All right. And with that being said, Portia, at the end of the day, Andy saved her for last. He let everybody get their little saying out of what they want next season going forward. And everything y'all have done and said to try to sabotage her and make her look bad, she turned around and flipped it back in y'all face by being humble and said, I love this group of girls, even though we're not always getting along. This is a new group of Real Housewives of Atlanta going forward, and we can take it to the next level. Y'all didn't expect that from Portia because y'all wanted her to come out with shade. But once again, Portia is PR trained. So all you Portia haters that saying Portia this and Portia that and Shamia, no, Portia hasn't. The thing with Portia is she stand in her stuff. She stands in her stuff and she speaks her mind, and that's what she wants. But we want from a housewife, but we don't want it in the nasty tone in which those two do it. They stand in their stuff to a degree, but it's the way it comes out. No accountability and constant lies. Shamia keep acting like she have selective memory and she don't know what she done to nobody. And then she finally says, "I had an issue with Drew because Drew was apparently she was accusing Drew of trying to sleep with Dennis, and Portia was her friend, and she felt she had the conversation to try to protect her friend. And I'm like, yeah, but then you went into the conversation talking about Portia behind her back, and the ladies on the couch, Cynthia and a few other people, Shamir was trying to say, well, Portia was saying stuff about me from our friend group outside of the show, and Portia like, no, that's not it. And even Cynthia had to step in and say, no, Shamir, I done heard and been in some places and spaces with you when you was talking about Portia. So neither one of y'all was being a really good friend to each other and protecting each other when they was in places, when y'all were in spaces that they weren't at. When Portia wasn't in the room, you wasn't always protecting Portia. And Portia, when Shamia wasn't in the room, maybe or maybe not, you wasn't always protecting Shamia. But at the end of the day, Shamia has to, we wouldn't know you without Portia. And I ain't saying you got to kiss Portia's behind, but we wouldn't know you without her. Without her. But I like the way Portia ended it, said, hey, whether we get along or not, this is a good group. Let's take this thing to the next level. And I don't think any of them on the other side of the couch saw that coming. So next season, Shamia, tone it down some. Make us like you because we liked you your first season coming in. But this season, I don't know if you got that Kelly spirit in your brain. I want to see you operate without Kelly because Kelly seems to be pulling a string in your back and making you act a certain way that you don't have to act. Kelly, to me, is probably the eyesore of the group and not so much Shamia. I think Shamia can bring it down a notch if Kelly's not there constantly hyping her up with the BS. Because K Michelle is trying to tell her, hey, Shamia, you may be doing too much. Even Pinky is like, what is going on with you? Why you're behaving this way? And Kelly is still with the hype it up, hype me up. She's still trying to keep you in that nasty mode. I would love to see Kelly go down to a friend of the show. And I know I've said in a previous thing, keep Kelly. Yeah, keep her out. She's, she's funny. But I would love to see her role cut back just a little bit and let Shamia function with the group without Kelly and see how that works. Because I don't want Shamia to leave the show. Even though she gets under my last freaking nerves, I like Shamia and she's really good for the show. I can go with or without Kelly and her whine and whine. I think all of us can be. We're tired of her in that. Yeah, we tired of that voice. We really are. I ain't saying fire her. I'm just saying we tired of that voice. And with that being said, that is my take on Real Housewives Reunion 3. Part 3 reunion wasn't much to see, but good Lord, can y'all please do something about Kelly? All right. This is Generation X Nation. Please hit the like, hit the subscribe button. And you guys go out and have a great rest of your day. And y'all be careful out here with these. If you a steak lover or like eating beef or ground meat, I'm telling y'all and be honest with y'all might need to watch your intake of that because this Mad King telling us he gonna be buying. No, he's shipping beef in from countries that we don't know what their safety standards are or their sanitary standards when it comes to you're eating the meat. Right now I'm about to be a pescatarian, and hell, I can't even be a vegan because half the damn vegetables are contaminated. So I'm just saying, be careful out there. In a few, we ain't gonna need Ozempic because we ain't gonna be able to eat a goddamn thing, and we all gonna be losing weight regardless. Okay. And with that being said, you guys go and have a great rest of your day. I'm about to go and put up a video real quick about Ariane Curry down there in Huntsville. Always got something to say with her dumb behind. And I try to give Ariane grace, people. I'm just saying, I try to give her grace. I try to give everybody grace. I try to give everybody, look at everybody's side of the story and treat them like a human being when I do commentary because I know I don't know these people personally. So everything here is alleged and just my opinion based on my life experiences. But good Lord, girl, I ain't never met a woman in my life, and God hope I never do, as dumb as this girl here. And I hate to even call people dumb, but Ariane, go have several seats. You have made a choice and built the life that you wanted to build, and you probably just need to go on and live with that. And we'll talk about that in a minute. You guys go and have a great rest of your day. As I said, be safe. Watch what you eating out here and pray to God that we can get this country back on track. Because right now we are failing. As always, Generation X Nation, hit the like, hit the subscribe button, and y'all go have a great rest of your day. Peace, and I'm out.